People say, oh, you can't change human nature overnight. You're asking us to give up the ego. And that's the most difficult of all things to do. Actually, it isn't, because the ego doesn't exist. But of course, if you try to give up your ego with your ego, then it'll take you to the end of time.
All of this is a game, but you forgot that you are playing. The rush, the fears, the frustrations, the constant feeling of being behind, that something is missing, something is wrong with you. None of this is as real as it seems. And the most unsettling part is that, on some deep level of your consciousness, you accepted being here. You chose this experience. You chose to feel fear, pain, loneliness, loss. As absurd as it may seem now, this is exactly what Alan Watts proposes to us. He said that life is like a show, a play where you are not just a spectator, but also an actor. And the problem is that you forgot this. You got so lost in the role that you began to believe you are it. You forgot that suffering is part of the plot, that chaos is part of the scenery. And so you live as if everything were definitive, as if every loss were the end, as if every crisis were a real collapse and not just a scene. But what if I told you that the fear that paralyzes you is not the enemy, that the mistake is not feeling, but resisting? Alan Watts spoke about metaphysical courage, the ability to look pain in the eye and keep moving forward, not because you are insensitive, but because you know that all of this is a game, not a superficial game where everything is a joke, but a deep, sacred game where even suffering has its purpose. How many times have you found yourself trapped in a cycle of worry, as if your mind were peeling an infinite onion, always with another layer of anxiety hidden beneath the previous one? You worry about money, then about health, then about the future, about others, about everything. And deep down, you feel that if you stop worrying, you will be irresponsible, you will be naive. But what Watts reveals is the opposite. Worrying is not a sign of awareness, it is a sign of imprisonment. You are trapped in a game, but you don't know you are playing. You are reacting, fighting, struggling, all because you forgot that above all, you chose to be here. And the key to getting out of this trance is not to fight against it. It is to remember. Remember that it is just a game. Remember that even fear is just a part of the script. And then, when you truly accept this, something changes. The pain still comes, but it does not dominate you. The fear appears, but it does not define you. And for the first time, you begin to play with awareness. This is the proposal of this video. Not to convince you of a new belief, but to invite you to remember what has always been there, behind all the layers. You don't need to win the game. You just need to wake up. And if you feel that this awakening makes sense, then stay with me until the end. Because what comes next may change the way you see everything. You live on a stage, and the most intriguing part is that you yourself helped write the script, chose the setting, and threw yourself into the role without remembering that it was all a performance. Alan Watts saw existence as a cosmic theatrical play, a performance where the universe plays at forgetting that it is the universe, just to be able to rediscover itself. You, I, all of us are expressions of this divine play, this game of existential hide-and-seek. But what does this mean in practice? It means that every situation in your life, from the most trivial to the most terrifying, are scenes carefully placed before you. Not to punish you, nor to test you, but so that you can feel. Feel fear, feel pain, feel ecstasy, love, longing, frustration. Feel intensely. It's like going to the movies knowing that the film will make you cry or tremble with fear. You want that, because deep down, you know it's just a movie. And it's exactly this awareness that you have lost. Watts said that life needs contrast. Without darkness, light would not be perceived. Without suffering, joy would seem empty. And that's why we choose to forget. We allow ourselves to dive into the game, Forget the how and the why, and just react, as if everything were definitive, as if the stage were a prison, not a setting. That's why so many people live in panic, seeking control, trying to protect themselves from something that was never a threat. Because they forgot that fear, pain, loss are not accidents. They are parts of the performance. And when you understand this, not as a beautiful theory, but as a truth that resonates deep in your soul, you stop running. You begin to watch the spectacle. And for the first time, instead of fighting against the storm, you feel the rain fall. But this awakening does not come without resistance. Because the ego, this character you wear every day, fights to maintain the illusion. It wants control, wants certainty, wants protection. It fears surrender. It fears accepting that it is not in command. And it is exactly here that Alan Watts's most radical invitation arises, to develop a new form of courage. Not physical courage, not the bravery that faces the external world, but something much deeper, the courage not to resist. This is the so-called metaphysical courage that changes everything. And it is about this that we will talk now. If this content is making sense to you, click the subscribe button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your support. There is a type of courage that most people never develop. Not because it is impossible, but because it requires an internal leap that challenges everything you have learned about yourself and the world. Alan Watts called this metaphysical courage. And no, it has nothing to do with being strong in the traditional sense. It is not about facing external battles, but about confronting internal ghosts without looking away. To look at fear, sadness, loneliness, and not run. To stay, to feel, to remain present. True courage is not the absence of fear. It is the conscious decision not to resist fear when it appears. Watts said that when we allow fear to exist without rejecting it, without trying to suppress it, it loses the control it has over us. It is the opposite of what society teaches. From a young age, we learn to suppress, to avoid, to distract. Do you feel anxious? Distract yourself. Are you afraid? Stay busy. But all of this is escape, and every escape strengthens exactly what we are trying to flee from. Metaphysical courage begins when you abandon the idea that you need to fix what you feel. When you stop blaming yourself for being afraid, for feeling weak, or for not being in control. It is when you look at the emotion as a natural phenomenon, like the warmth of a flame, like the chill of dawn. It is not something you do. It is something that happens. And the more you try to resist, the more fear grows. The more you try to control, the more powerless you feel. The Japanese samurai knew this. That is why they studied Zen. They wanted to achieve a state of presence so absolute, so deep, that even death lost its power over them. They sought what Watts called the ultimate nerve, the supreme nerve, the ability to traverse emotional hell without hesitation, to continue, even when everything inside you says to retreat. They knew that beneath the raised sword lies hell. But it is precisely there, in the crossing without resistance, that the land of bliss is revealed. And maybe you are thinking, but I am not a samurai. I tremble, I freeze, I run away. That's okay. Watts knew that too. He said, don't try not to be afraid. Just stop being afraid of your own fear. It is at this point that the cycle begins to unravel. Because when you accept fear as part of the spectacle, as part of the dance, it transforms. It becomes energy, movement, life. But if resisting fear traps us, what exactly keeps us in this constant cycle of anxiety and worry? Why, even when we know that fear is an illusion, do we continue to feed it? This is where we enter the infinite onion of worry, the next level of this illusion that keeps us captive. Let's talk about that now.